And we begin here with a breaking update on a developing story. The shooting of a Jewish man on his way to synagogue over the weekend in West Rogers Park. Chicago police just wrapped up a news conference where they provided some new information. NBC5's Stephen Holt is here in the studio with late details. Stephen?
Yeah, Kate and Alex, this happened Saturday morning near Farwell and Rockwell in the West Ridge neighborhood within West Rogers Park, a home to a lot of Orthodox Jewish families. The 39-year-old victim was walking to synagogue wearing traditional Jewish garb on the celebratory Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah, which translates to Joy of Torah. Last Saturday morning, though, was anything but joyful. You can hear those gunshots ringing out right around 9:30 in the morning on Saturday, captured on a neighbor's Ring doorbell camera. Police just announced attempted first-degree murder charges against a 22-year-old man named Sidi Mohammed Abdullahi. They say he also fired on responding paramedics and police officers, and that those officers fired back. Abdullahi is now hospitalized in critical condition. The victim was shot in the shoulder. His injuries are not life-threatening. Now, the incident has a lot of people in the Jewish community wondering if this was a hate crime. Here's what police had to say just a short time ago.
We're continuing to investigate the motive. At this point, detectives have been unable to interview the offender because of his injuries. We understand the concerns around this incident, and we're doing everything we can to ensure that the community is safe. And we want to restore a sense of security for the residents.
Superintendent Snelling says the suspect did not say anything before shooting the victim, but did say something when the shooting happened at those first responders. Police would not reveal what the suspect said. 50th Ward Alderwoman Deborah Silverstein, also an Orthodox Jew, spoke at the news conference. She says her community is shaken to its core and troubled that this has not been charged as a hate crime. NBC5's Patrick Fazio is following the story. He's going to have much more reaction coming up on the NBC5 News at 5 and 6 o'clock. Alex, back to you.
Stephen, thank you so much.
A Chicago man faces attempted murder charges tonight for the shooting of a Jewish man who was walking to synagogue. But the local alderman wants to know why hate crime charges are not being filed in this case. NBC5's Patrick Fazio on the story for us. He's live at police headquarters tonight with much more. Patrick?
Hi, Allison. Yeah, police just announced the charges this afternoon and also explained why at this point they're not also pursuing hate crime charges. Now, we're also seeing video of the shooting that happened on a neighborhood street over the weekend. A neighbor's video shows the shooting in West Rogers Park Saturday morning near West Farwell and North Washtenaw. And then seconds later, more gunfire.
The offender approached a 39-year-old male and shot him in the shoulder without saying a word.
Chicago police announced 6 attempted murder charges against 22-year-old Sidi Mohammed Abdullahi. He's accused of shooting a 39-year-old Jewish man and of shooting at first responders who rushed to the scene.
No officers or paramedics were injured at the time, luckily. But an ambulance was struck by gunfire. Officers then returned fire, striking the offender.
I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the officers of the Chicago Police Department who brought the offender into custody.
Alderwoman Deborah Silverstein attends the same synagogue as the man who was shot. She says he's out of the hospital now, but troubled by the shooting right after a Jewish holiday.
This has just escalated our anxiety, and we would really our community would like to see this as a hate crime.
Nobody wants to be victimized on their way to church. But when we start talking about the legal aspects of it, we have to have fact-based information in order to bring about those charges.
Now, Chicago police say they are still investigating this as a possible hate crime, but they have not been able to interview the suspect yet because he is still in the hospital. Now, the FBI says it is also looking into the shooting and is working with local, state, and federal partners. Reporting live at Chicago Police Headquarters, Patrick Fazio, NBC5 News.
Okay, Patrick, thank you so much.
Tonight, Chicago police are investigating multiple crimes that started with a shooting of a Jewish man headed to synagogue in West Rogers Park.
As cops and paramedics were arriving on that scene to help to respond to that shooting, police say the suspect then opened fire on them. All this happening Saturday morning in the 2600 block of West Farwell. Now some residents in the neighborhood and even the local alderman want the suspect charged with a hate crime. NBC5's Courtney Sisk with our story tonight.
The suspect is charged with 14 felonies. However, tonight, hate crime is not one of them, despite circumstances that people in the West Rogers Park community feel made it a targeted attack. A shooting in a West Rogers Park neighborhood Saturday morning caught on camera. Chicago police say 22-year-old Sidi Muhammad Abdullahi shot a man, then turned on law enforcement and medics responding to the scene and shot at them.
During the shooting, the offender approached a 39-year-old male and shot him in the shoulder without saying a word.
That victim was a 39-year-old Jewish man walking to synagogue.
This act of violence, a man wearing, the kippah as he was walking to synagogue, was shot, and this has just escalated our anxiety.
Alderman Deborah Silverstein attends the same synagogue and says she's disappointed the state's attorney's office hasn't charged it as a hate crime. CPD says they aren't ruling it out, but need more evidence made difficult because the suspect is still in the hospital following the shootout.
At the end of the day, it's as traumatic whether or not it gets that terminology of being a hate crime.
Rabbi Shlomo Soroka of the Agudath Israel of Illinois says the community is distressed.
My family lives here. My community lives here. We are visibly Orthodox. We are visibly Jewish. And that puts a target on our backs.
And others in the neighborhood who are not Jewish also feel on edge.
I mean, it's really concerning, that level of whatever the motivation was.
Mike McGuire heard the shooting while on a walk.
We saw the EMS pulling down Farwell.
I would say that there's a lot of anxiety in the community.
There's a detention hearing set for Tuesday morning in this case. Courtney Sisk, NBC5 News.
We will stay on it. Our thanks to Courtney.
The shooting of a Jewish man on his way to synagogue over the weekend has left a Chicago community in fear. The man survived and the suspect was caught, but there are no hate crime charges filed in this case. Our Courtney Sisk is live at Chicago Police Headquarters with that community's concerns about the lack of charges here. Courtney.
Hi, Alex. They tell me that there is a visceral fear in their community right now, and although there are no hate crime charges yet, they are perceiving it as one, and they want the city to start to help provide resources so that they feel safer in their communities.
We as a community celebrate joyous occasions together, we mourn tragedies together, and we will fight for our safety together as well.
The Jewish community in the West Rogers Park neighborhood notably concerned after one of their own was shot in the back while walking to synagogue Saturday. Chicago police say the alleged gunman, 22-year-old Sidi Muhammad Abdullahi, shot the man unprovoked without saying a word. He's accused of then firing at responding officers and EMTs who shot back, injuring him.
Members of the Jewish community, of the Orthodox Jewish community, are the most vulnerable to violent attacks. We are easily identifiable as Jews.
The 22-year-old faces 14 felony counts, but a hate crime is not yet one of them. CPD says they need more evidence to bring forth charges, but aren't ruling anything out. The man is now recovering. His friends say he usually walks to synagogue with his 2 young girls, but this week he went alone.
Could you imagine what would have happened if those little girls were with him?
Meanwhile, community leaders say they would like to see the city do more to denounce this crime. They say they haven't even heard from the mayor since the shooting.
Zip, zero, zilch from him. No one has heard from anybody, either him or anybody in his administration, which is shameful.
And the state's attorney's office says they cannot comment further on pending litigation, but are working with law enforcement officers.
I know that sometimes we need to be patient if we want the charges to stick, even when our lived experiences make it seemingly clear and obvious.
The mayor's office did respond to our request for comment about a half hour ago. They say that the mayor's thoughts and prayers are with the victim and his family, and that all Chicagoans should feel safe across the city. Meanwhile, the suspect was unable to be in court today for a detention hearing, and that's because he is still in the hospital. It's been rescheduled to November 7th. Kate, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks for the update, Courtney.